It is time to have an uncomfortable conversation, Falcons fans. Whether you want to or not, the facts of yesterday's game remain the exact same. The coaching staff sent a message to every single Falcons fan yesterday. Welcome into the show, Falcons fans. My name is Moose, and on this episode of Falcons Today, we're going to briefly recap the 24-10 win against the Saints. But for the majority of the episode, we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation about Michael Penix Jr. and Kirk Cousins. And we are also 14 subs away from 46,000 on the channel. So if you love daily updates, if you love this team, and you love what we do here, do me a favor right now, hit that big red sub button. First of all, I want to start with this. Let's start with the positives. After a victory Monday, we obviously have to talk about what went right. And the biggest and most glaring thing that I saw yesterday is, hey, we got a kicker. Zane Gonzalez was exceptional yesterday. I saw plenty of Falcons fans getting down in the comment section saying, hey, if that was Koo, if that was Parker Romo, we would have missed those wide right or wide left. And Zane Gonzalez, OCD, hair fixing and all, was just pinpoint accurate the entire time. So I got to give my hats off to him. He was excellent yesterday. And it also snaps the 5-game losing streak. Mark Ramondi said this. You're going to see a lot from him in this episode today because he's one of the most trusted Falcons beat reporters out there. So the Falcons losing streak is officially over. We've got a kicker. The offense and the defense both did just enough yesterday to get the W. And I think that's the motto. I thought the defense was excellent, by the way. I'm not just saying they did just enough. They only allowed 3 points. The pick six was the only touchdown that the Saints scored yesterday. So only allowing 3 points to any NFL team is really, really good stuff. But I think the motto of yesterday's game was, we did just enough to get the job done. And that's exactly correct. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. With a team that's lost 5 in a row, I'm happy to say we did just enough to get the job done. Because look at the numbers. They're not great. We had 302 yards of offense. You only had 13 first downs. You were 3 of 12 on third down. That's not good. You had 9 of 82 penalties. So yesterday, I don't want to get it twisted. The Falcons weren't good yesterday. They just weren't awful. And that is a step in the right direction. So that's enough to get me to smash that thumbs up icon. That's enough for me to say, hey, the monkey's off the back. Maybe we could start to play some good football. But I think we found a team that's actually worse than the Atlanta Falcons. The New Orleans Saints, dumpster fire. So do me a favor, if you're happy that we won, hit that thumbs up icon. But like I said, today's episode is going to be primarily focused upon what was very apparent, at least to me, with yesterday's game and with what Raheem Morris had to say, not only about Kirk Cousins, but Michael Penix Jr. as well. And I think what we have to at least admit here is that these coaches have no faith and no idea with what to do with Michael Penix Jr. And I'm going to tell you exactly what those comments were right after I tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks, because I got to tell you something. If I'm Michael Penix Jr. right now, I do not feel good about what Raheem Morris had to say. It really, really opens a lot of eyes and a lot of, reading between the lines of what this coaching staff actually feels like when it comes to their quarterback situation. Because his comments yesterday prove that there is no trust in Michael Penix Jr. at the helm. You saw it with the game plan, and you see it with the comments. Now, like I said, I'll tell you about those. First, got to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks. The holidays are officially here. And this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It is all happening all at once. And while you and I are here making decisions every single day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's only one place where it feels good to be right. And that's with Prize Picks. New feature alert for you guys. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have seen the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. That's really cool. But also how you play is up to you. If you choose the flex play, you get ultimate flexibility where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. No matter what your play is, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the ultimate test. Very simple. Takes 30 seconds to make a lineup, pick the player, more or less stat projections. Watch your money multiply. Up to 2,000 times your cash this football season on Prize Picks. So do me a favor, download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. I want to start with Raheem's comments here with what he said about the Darnell Mooney moonshot touchdown. Beautiful play, beautiful setup. He said, we've been setting that up all year when he was talking about the reference to Mooney's 49-yard touchdown pass. And my first thought was, no, you haven't. I've watched every Falcons game. You've watched every Falcons game. You have not been trying to set that up all year. Very rarely do you take shots downfield. It's only been recently that the ball's kind of been getting stretched down the field with Michael Penix Jr., and then we finally saw it with Kirk Cousins. Oh, and by the way, that was on play action. And then the very next comment, I was like, oh, okay, that's what he's talking about. This is why he said that. Morris said that Cousins is more comfortable being under center than Penix is. Now, while that might be a true, very baseline statement, you got to read between the lines a little bit. You got to read between the lines. What is Raheem Morris actually saying? What he's saying is Penix can't do it, or at least he's not able to do it yet. Why does the offense look so different when Michael Penix is under center and when Kirk Cousins is literally under center? Why does the offense look so different when Kirk Cousins is taking the snap and when Michael Penix Jr. takes the snap? It looks like a completely different college gimmicky offense. Here's another thing you need to know. This is a stat from yesterday's game. The Falcons used 13-man personnel, which is one running back and 3 tight ends. So you got a 3 tight end set with 1 extra running back on 33 of 55 offensive plays yesterday. That's 60%. That is the highest rate of any offense in a single game since 2016. Why were you not doing that with Penix? Because he can't. Here's the answer for you. I'm going to answer my own question. Penix's injuries limit his under center ability. He's not nearly as mobile as even Kirk Cousins, and that's saying something. Kirk's got stone feet. You saw it yesterday. His pocket mobility, Kirk's pocket mobility, is awful. He just can't do it. And he's more mobile than Michael Penix Jr. is, which also proves that Zac Robinson is not adjusting the offense for Michael Penix. And whether that's a refusal to do so or an inability to do so, I think we see the full incompetency of Zac Robinson when Michael Penix Jr. is taking snaps, which, just 2 weeks ago I said the marriage between the two doesn't work. And ultimately, when you're under center, literally under center like Kirk was yesterday, it takes more time for the play to develop because it's not a 2-step drop. It's not a shotgun snap. It literally takes a 5 to 7-step drop. Well, Michael Penix Jr., with his injuries, can't do that, which is why you see him get so panicked when pressure comes. He goes into panic mode. He can't let the play develop because he can't roll out consistently. And if you can't roll out consistently because of your injury history, you're going to panic. Therefore, Zac Robinson's going to say, well, we have to eliminate that altogether because you can't do it. So Penix is literally getting tailored to in this pistol offense. And I have been the one to say, I hate it. I hate the way it looks. Zac Robinson's got to flip it up. And then yesterday, finally, we had a real pro-style looking offense. And I said, Penix can't do it under pressure. Kirk was great under pressure last week, yesterday. Kirk versus the Blitz against the Saints. 8 of 10 for 91 yards, a touchdown, no picks. And Kirk's not even that great. He did just enough. So I went back and I started looking. I said, okay, if Kirk did really well against the Blitz yesterday, let's take a snapshot of what Michael Penix Jr.'s numbers under pressure look like. So this is Michael Penix Jr. under pressure when blitzed, when not blitzed, when the pocket is collapsing and the NFL defines a pressure. This is what Michael Penix Jr.'s numbers look like. 55% completion percentage, 6.4 yards per attempt, a 55 PFF grade, and a quarterback rating of 65.4. Translation, Penix only succeeds when he's got a clean pocket. And newsflash, that's every quarterback outside of J.J. McCarthy in the entire NFL. And I also will be the first one to say, this is not a glazing Kirk or a bashing on Penix. I don't think that Kirk Cousins is the long-term future with this team. He's too old. He's too old. He's too immobile. But I think what you saw yesterday is that when Kirk is under center, the coaching staff, offensively speaking, Zac Robinson, they relax. The offense looks different under center. It's no longer something that you have to makeshift with Penix in the pistol. You can actually run play action. You could actually run an under center run scheme. Going into the game, the Falcons were dead last in the NFL in under center rate, 6%. And yesterday, Reed, you can attest to this. How many times do you think they ran under center? At least 33% of the time. So, yeah, we might do an under center counter in the next watch party. So I think the writing is on the wall. And the coach's comments are telling you, without telling you directly. Kirk's ability as a quarterback right now to run a different style of offense is what we were planning or wanting the offense to look like. But when you drafted Penix, you had to tailor the offense to him. Oh, and by the way, in case you still don't believe me, this was Raheem Morris's comments right after Penix got injured. You have to change the quarterback plan. The uncomfortable question now in everybody's mind, and I'm sorry if this offends you, is the marriage between Penix and Atlanta over? Look, Josh Rosen got drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. He started like 13 or 14 games for them. And then they said, it's not working. We're drafting Kyler Murray. Now, look, I still think there's talent, there's juice left to be squeezed with Michael Penix Jr. And maybe when a new coaching staff comes in, because I still think Zac and Raheem are not the right guys for the job, it might be the case that maybe you see what he looks like with a different offensive coordinator in a new scheme. But I also think the big question mark now is how long is Penix's leash? And I think from yesterday's comments and yesterday's game plan, the leash got shorter. So what would you do with Michael Penix Jr.? If you had to be Terry Fontenot, if you had to be Raheem Morris, if you had to be Arthur Blank or Rich McKay, what would you do with Michael Penix Jr.? Let me know in the comment section down below. This is going to be the pinned comment of today's video. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. A reminder to hit that subscribe button, like today's video, rise up, and be cool.